Hey y'all,
this is Dee.
And this is Shelby, and we're from Bitch Please.
Welcome back to another episode.
Episode 32.
Yeah.
Look at me on point.
Yes.
So, as you can tell, we're laid out a little bit different today than what we normally would be. This is the only day that we have to record this week, and I am very sick. And Deidre's had a long day at work, and so we're here. This is how you're gonna get us today.
I'm still in my scrubs.
Yeah, she's still in her scrubs. I look like Rudolph because my nose is on fire, and I have my trusty box of tissues with me today. But yeah, we're here. You know, we're here.
We're here.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
How are your screws?
My screws are tired, girl.
Yeah.
Y'all. I had a Thai tea today.
A Thai tea, bro.
The energy so that I got.
Caffeine in
that. My God. I felt like I was on drugs. Like, I was just like.
She acted like she was on drugs.
That's fair.
She was weirder than normal today.
I was.
It was very entertaining, but.
I was a little bit weirder than normal.
Yeah.
That's okay, though.
Yeah.
It happens.
Maybe take the mic off the blanket.
Oh. I wonder how that's going to sound.
I'm sure it's going to sound fine.
I hope so.
Do you want to try it again?
Nope.
All right, cool. Anyways, we might have a little ups and downs today just because we're sitting different. We're doing things a little bit different today. I don't feel good, so this is just where we're at.
And I left some equipment at home.
Yeah, and you've got to see this setup. I think I'm going to take a picture and put it online. Honestly,
because you got to do what you got to do.
This podcasting. This is just the way it works.
Yeah.
You missing something, you improvise.
Yeah.
And that's what we did today.
Since we don't have like a studio where we could like leave, like we do leave a lot of stuff here, but since we don't have a studio, sometimes stuff just be left.
Hell yeah.
I took the ring light.
Yeah.
And I left it at home.
Yeah.
So how are your screws?
Everybody called out of work.
Yeah.
So,
You're short-staffed?
Short-staffed. Fighting for my life today.
You too?
Yeah.
Short-staffing.
Short-staffing.
Get management. Tell them to hire more people.
They left.
The management left too?
Management homesick.
Damn.
Everybody's homesick. It was just wild today. So I took 2 days off from work this week because I was really sick. And I went back to work today. And I worked with a pretty bad fever all day today.
She had a very significant fever.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So, I'm here. I'm doing my best. And this is the best. This is what you're going to get. So, thanks for being here.
Yeah. So, before we get going, we want to just give a trigger warning.
Yes.
For this week's episode.
Yeah.
This week's episode is a little bit heavier than normal. It may be a little bit triggering for some, for a lot, honestly, because just numbers.
Yes.
But today we are if this is something that you are uncomfortable with, please feel free to turn us off. We are talking about sexual assault. We're talking about rape, molestation,
yeah,
coercion,
yeah,
pretty much everything that falls under the umbrella of sexual assault.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about today, and it's a pretty heavy topic. We're gonna talk about it. So if it's not something that you're comfortable with, please go back to episode 31. That's a light and fluffier episode.
It's a random one. Go to something a little bit.
Go to something a little bit different. There's several other episodes. So if this is something that's a little triggering for you, please. We are not offended. Please go listen to something else. Or if you want to listen to it and it triggers you in some spots, pause and maybe skip 10 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever you need to do.
We want to give you guys statistics and numbers and just share some. We're going to share experiences, but we're not going to share them in detail.
No, we're not.
We are going to kind of just mention and then we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Because it is triggering and we don't want to sit here and trigger ourselves.
Yeah, no, 100%. I have a dissociative disorder and I really like to stay present throughout this. So I'm going to do my best to be able to do that. But I also just think it's a good topic and a serious topic that we should talk about because, we try to tailor our podcast towards women, but, this also has to do with men as well. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay. You want to do first statistic?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, the first So the first statistic that I have is on it's on a website called supportingsurvivors.humboldt.edu. We'll go ahead and we can put the link wherever Deidre decides to put the link.
It'll be right here.
Love that. Right there. So an estimated 91% of victims of rape and sexual assault are female and 9% are male. Nearly 99% of perpetrators are male.
That is insane.
This is a U.S. Department of Justice statistic.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Those numbers are way too high.
99% of the perpetrators are male. How wild is that?
That's a very, very high percentage.
It is ridiculously high. And I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with women where it's been casually brought up, where it was like, oh yeah, in college I was sexually assaulted. Oh yeah, in high school this happened. Oh yeah, somebody slipped me a roofie at this point in time. Or, oh yeah, like this happened. And it's just a very casual conversation.
Because it's happened to damn near everybody.
Yeah.
At some point in their lives.
Yeah.
The levels are varying, but everybody has had some form of sexual abuse. And to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, when I was in college, we were just randomly talking one day, and every single girl that was in that group had been sexually assaulted in some way.
Yep.
Whether it was from childhood, whether it was, high school and college, at, whatever, everybody had at that point. And it was actually kind of wild to see and a little bit sad.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
Everybody?
It is super sad to hear. I mean, I've heard about it several times, and, even women that I've just met or whatever will talk about it. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, same. Mm-hmm. And it's always the same thing. They would tell me something. I'd be like, oh yeah, I went through that.
Mm-hmm. And then everybody goes, all right, so, and you just keep moving on. Yeah, you just kind of keep going.
It moving, because it's such a normal thing to happen to women.
Yeah. And that's sad.
It is really sad.
It's really sad. The numbers are insanely high.
So sorry.
The fact that the percentages, so we do want to just kind of lay this out as well. These numbers are based off of people that have actually reported.
Yes.
So the men's numbers are going to be a little bit lower because a lot of times men do not report. So it could be a lot higher, but that's just what was reported.
Yeah.
Still a high ass number.
I didn't report mine.
I didn't report mine either.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a ridiculously high percentage. But it's such a normal conversation for us to have together as women, because it's something that happens so frequently.
Yeah. I'm curious though, and I'm sure they don't, because they don't report them that often. So the thoughts of them talking about it with their homies, I'm wondering if they are doing that or if they're not. Like how we just be like, yeah, girl, because that one time.
Yeah.
I wonder if guys have those same conversations.
They don't.
Yeah.
Guys tend to not talk about it, because there's a lot of there's a lot of guilt and shame when it comes to being a woman, but I feel like for men it's a lot worse, especially straight men.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse for them.
The thing that makes me sad about it with men is that it doesn't make them weak.
No.
It doesn't make them anything. It is something that happened to them. It's an experience that they had.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. And they should be, I would hope that they would start to feel more comfortable to talk about it, report more and things like that, because I get it. It can be awkward. It could be a lot to deal with. It can be shameful, but you got to talk about it with somebody, but 100%. You also need to know that you're not in the wrong in this.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely. And I feel like men should hear that more often, because
absolutely,
I know so many men that it's happened to, and they don't talk about it. But it's crazy because they also breeze by it the same way we do.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
The same way we do. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a second.
Yeah, we need to address this.
Let's address that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to talk to me about it, but also here, just know that it's a safe space if you decide you want to talk about it. It's okay.
It is. And I think it's always so interesting, because a lot of times if it's brought up and men are bringing it up around you, it's real random.
It's real random.
It's like, I was at the grocery store the other day, and and I saw these really nice shoes at the mall, and blah blah blah. Oh, that one time I was raped, and then the other day I walked my dog, and you're like, wait, what? How did we get here?
Do you want to talk about that?
Right? Did you process?
Was this an opening? What
right.
are we doing?
Right.
Like, is this probing? Like, should I ask more
Right.
questions? You know?
It's like, I don't, do I feel comfortable to
There's
do
just
that?
such a stigma when it comes to men having that happen, and I think a lot of it has to do with homophobia and stuff like that. And a lot of like that idea that men, even as boys, are supposed to be strong and tough and be able to fight things off. And it's like, that's not the case. That's not the case, especially when you're younger or even as you're older. If it happens to you when you're older, that's not the case. You know, you're a victim just like everybody else is when it comes to those things. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a victim. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you powerless. It doesn't make you anything like that. You know, it's just men have a hard time processing that.
Yeah. Which makes me sad.
It makes me really sad for them.
Because it's like, you should be able to feel comfortable enough in something that has happened to you,
Yeah.
especially something like that. It's pretty significant.
Yeah.
To be able to talk about it and share your story, because
Absolutely.
and specifically because this is something that men go through as well. Like, if this was only something that happened to women, okay, but the fact that it does happen to men,
Yeah.
to have that, because we do talk about it so freely, it would be really nice to see men talking about their experiences to help other men.
Yeah, 100%.
And let them know, like, it is okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, coming from us, we could be like, yeah, talk about it, it's okay, da 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 da. But some of y'all are not going to get that coming from us. You're just not, because we're not men.
We're not.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We're just telling you, there are people that are supportive. There are people that will be there to listen to you.
Absolutely.
But share your story. Like, if you're just talking to your friends, if you're talking to family, whatever it is, like, let them know. I don't know if it's a family member that did it. Maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't do that.
But, you know, share those things so that
Unless
you
you're
can
about to
move
whoop
on.
that ass. No, I'm just playing.
If you throwing hands, you better share it with the family member. Do it in a way that's like, I don't know, just roll out the way.
Pop, 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 pop. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that it should be talked about.
I agree.
I think that it should be talked about, and it doesn't necessarily need to be with, you know, a friend or family member. You can go to a licensed mental health professional. You can do, you know,
Licensed for sure.
licensed mental health professional. You know, you can, even if you go to church and you want to talk to your pastor or whatever, there's all sorts of places that are very welcoming. I mean, church maybe be a little careful. Be careful
Depending
with
on
the
where you
church,
go.
but depending upon where you go, if you feel very comfortable, these are things that you can talk about. You know,
Yeah.
you can find other outlets, but I definitely think it's helpful to talk about it.
I agree.
You know, for me, I didn't talk about it for so long that it almost didn't feel like it happened. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I was, oh,
Uh-oh.
no.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. I was like,
I spaced out a little bit, but I came back.
okay. I saw it happen.
Yeah, you could leave that in.
Okay.
Yeah, just leave it in. Sorry, checked out a little bit. So when I was about, I want to say 11 or 12, is when I started dabbling in drugs, and was hanging out with somebody, and we went somewhere to a party. I won't mention any names, and I did a lot of stupid shit, and that's how I lost my virginity. Somebody took advantage of me. So, and the thing is I didn't talk about it for so long, and then I acted out in extremely aggressive and violent manner, and I didn't date men openly. I slept with men behind closed doors, but I didn't actually fully date men probably until I was in my late teens, early 20s.
Do you feel like that happening to you really made you do you feel like that happening is why you were like, I'm just dating women for a bit?
I think I was just more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was just more comfortable. I didn't feel unsafe with women. I've always felt unsafe with men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had incidences when I was younger of inappropriate touching and stuff like that. I've actually have had to address with my therapist the amount of times that I've had inappropriate touching and sexual harassment and stuff like that, which come to find out is actually fairly normal. Especially with somebody who has already been victimized, you can be re-victimized easily. I don't know what it is, but it's just a thing. But yeah, I think I was just more comfortable with women. Mm-hmm. It's not that I wasn't attracted to men. I just didn't feel safe around them, and I didn't feel like, oh.
Do you need a warhead? The eyes is blinking.
No. Mm-mm. I'm trying not to do warheads. I'm trying to, like, actually use the whole committee.
Okay.
It's been put in my head. Okay. What was I saying?
You said when you were attracted to men, but you didn't feel safe.
Yeah, so I didn't feel safe, and I just felt like I was also attracted to women, so I'm like, I'm just gonna proclaim that I'm lesbian.
Yeah.
And then I'm off limits to all men. I can't even tell you how many times I've been like,
I want to join.
And then be like, I like threesomes, or they'd be like, well, have you had some good sex? And
right.
I'm
All
like,
you need is some
all
good
you need
dick.
is some good sex. And I'm like, no, you're gross. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't attracted. I just didn't feel safe.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
It took me a very long time to be able to do that. And when I started to actually willingly sleep with men, I was usually drunk or high.
So it's so interesting because talking about kind of ignoring it and not really, but one of the things was that after that happened, I didn't like being touched at all.
Yeah.
Like it would literally make me have a reaction.
Yep.
And being that young and being like tensing up every time somebody came around,
yeah, absolutely,
was crazy.
Yeah,
it was really crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a long time I didn't like being touched.
That's
like
me.
At all.
I still don't like to be touched unless I know you.
Well, yeah, if I know you, I don't mind. But like, I didn't like being touched at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if I know you or not. Don't come up on me.
Yeah.
Because it just used to make me feel so like creeped out and weird and
yeah.
Just I was always like, when people like reach for you, I was always doing this.
Oh yeah,
that was my.
I was like, if anybody, even like my mom or somebody, would try to hug me. Sorry, I laugh because I say my mom. My mom never hugged me. It's sad. But if anybody tried to hug me that wasn't my mom, I would tense up. All sorts of trauma in one episode. I'm very sorry I have to blow my nose. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's something that needs to be like, for me, what kind of helped me get through it is when I started talking about it in therapy. That helped me get through it. And then I met my ex-husband, and he was the first man that I had ever been with sober. So, and that was when I think I was 22.
I will say, being drunk and doing stuff is also kind of scary.
It is very scary.
Because, especially if both parties are drunk, anything goes.
Anything goes.
And so you're just out doing things, and then you wake up and you're like,
yeah,
what happened?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I woke up naked in a random person's house when I was drinking. And I'm like, and I would talk to like, I had a therapist that I would talk to about these things, and everybody has their own opinion on it. I'm just going to share mine, and I'd love to hear about everybody else's opinion. She would say things like, well, that's rape. You could not consent. And I'm like, but the other person also could not consent. So, we were both mutually drunk. And on several occasions, this happened with multiple different people. So for me, I don't consider that like a rape or a sexual assault. There was another time when I got older. I think I was like maybe 18. And I had just gotten into the kink community. And I met a dom, or somebody who called themselves a dom. Um, and that guy took advantage of me. Now, are you okay?
Yeah, my lash was falling off.
Oh, I thought you was crying. I was like, please don't do that because we're going to have to stop,
No,
bitch.
no. My lash was falling off. It's been hanging on by a thread.
But yeah, that was another time where that was taken advantage, and there was supposed to be, so in the kink community, when you are doing impact play or you were doing role play or anything like that, there's something called a safe word, or you can use the colors system,
yeah,
which is green, yellow, and red. Green means you're good, yellow means you're kind of getting too much, and red means
Stop.
hard stop. I had a safe word at the time. And I think I had a safe word, or I think I might have been using the color system. I can't really remember. And for him, everything was for the sake of the scene. So I would give my safe word, and he would be like, you have to push through for the sake of the scene. And I would, but also I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Also, I'm bound.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gagged.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm having these things, so there wasn't much that I could do.
Right.
You know, I'd give a safe signal. For the sake of the scene, you have to keep pushing. And for me, that's sexual assault.
Yeah. So the thing a lot of people, I think, may not realize is in the kink community, like, if you have a dom that is not respecting your safe words or telling you that you can't use your safe words,
Yeah.
that is a sign of assault, a sexual
100%.
assault.
100%.
Don't ever let anybody tell you that you cannot use things, especially if you're in a space that you're not comfortable anymore.
Absolutely.
At any point, you should be able to say you're gonna stop, whether you had consented to it initially or not.
Yeah.
Especially in that sake, and I feel like that happens a lot in the kink community.
It does, and so yeah, I mean, it happens to so many women in the kink community, and it's really sad. So finding, not that we need to switch up into this, but I just feel like it's
I mean, it's part of it.
it's important to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in the kink community, it is very important as a submissive, especially a female. I mean, females and males, but especially women, to vet your dom. Don't just go in and be like, oh, he's painting this beautiful picture, because a lot of the times there are men that are in the kink community that are there to take advantage of women, and I've had experience with that. I'm not saying all of the men in the kink community are like that, because I've also met some really amazing people who are just there for education and pleasure purposes and are very respectful. But there's a lot of them that are out there that will pretend to be a dom to take advantage of you. So you definitely want to make sure you know that they've had experience, all of those things. So just to keep yourself safe, especially if you're interested and you're new. I'm a switch, so I sub and I dom. So I can tell you, as somebody who's dommed in the past, it's definitely a mutual respected relationship that should be shared between each person, and there should be a very big line of open communication there. Mm-hmm. So if you don't get that vibe and things feel pushy, I strongly suggest backing away, but that's just me.
Run.
Yes.
Run. And also something that I noticed, it was probably like maybe a year or so ago, I noticed that there was a big upswing in doms on TikTok, but they weren't actually doms.
Yeah.
They were like pretending to be doms.
Yeah.
And they were getting a lot of traction.
They were.
But they were not doing things in a way that was consensual, safe.
No. Yeah.
So yeah, like Shelby was saying, be careful out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is stuff as like CNC, consensual non-consent.
Right.
And then there's RAC, which is risk aware consensual kink, I think, which is way deeper and shit that I like to do, but it's way more intense than something that you really should do with somebody who's very experienced and somebody who actually listens to you.
And that you feel safe with.
So anyways, but could we switch up and talk about how often people report?
Yeah.
And then what it's like to report?
Go for it.
So an ex of mine, I won't mention any names because that's for them to talk about if they decide they want to speak up about it. an ex of mine, we went out to a club one day. I don't know if I told you this.
I don't know.
We went out to a club one day, and I lost them somewhere in the crowd. They were off drinking or whatever, and I lost them. And they came back, and they were...
You did tell me this.
Very fucked up. And I have been, I've had GHB slipped in my shit. So, or whatever sort of date rape drug that was slipped in my stuff. Luckily, I had a group of people that I had gone out with, and it was like they were very supportive. So they were able to notice that and help me or whatever. So I noticed that they were not doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were leaving, they told me what happened, that this guy brought them out to the parking lot, raped them there or whatever, and then came back inside with them. And they were completely not coherent. And I was only present for maybe one drink. But they were gone for 15 minutes. It's like 20 minutes. So I don't think that they were at the bar pounding a bunch of drinks to the point where they were so inebriated they couldn't stand and walk. Anyways, they told me what happened. I said, do you want to go to the hospital? We got in the car and we went to the hospital. And we told the person up front what happened, and we just wanted to get some prophylaxis, which is if you're ever sexually assaulted or raped and you feel comfortable enough, you can go to most hospitals and they can help you with getting some sort of antiretrovirals. Antiretrovirals, I think is what it is.
I think
it's
so.
PrEP now.
Yeah, it's
so
PrEP.
It's stuff to help combat anything that you could possibly get. So we go out. We were in Kissimmee at the time, and we go to this hospital, and we wait in the waiting room for about 4 hours. And we waited in the waiting room. We told them what happened, and they made us wait for 4 hours. These police officers showed up. Me and this other person is put into a very tiny room with a bunch of male officers after all this happened. They proceeded to bully my partner at the time into telling them what happened, and then started to accuse my partner of lying and accuse them that that's probably not what happened, and that they probably made a mistake, and so on and so forth, and that in order for them to get any sort of help at all, they'd have to file charges. So after being there for 6 hours, we left and went home with nothing except going to the store to get some Plan B, and just lived on hopes and prayers. That's it. So it's hard for people to report
and actually get help, because and I think about this a lot because I see it on like a lot of the true crime stuff that we watch
all the time.
And like you see people go in and trying to get help, and even when they're telling the backstories of people, they're like, this person was in the streets, they were a hoe, they were doing this, and you're like, okay, but that doesn't change the fact that they were raped or sexually assaulted. Yeah. Like that still can happen, and they could still be a hoe, but that don't mean like that didn't happen to them. And I don't feel like a lot of times, especially nowadays, that they take it seriously enough when it comes from women.
Yeah. Because
they're like, oh, that probably wasn't happening, or oh, what were you wearing, or oh, what were you doing, or how did you look?
What were you wearing?
Yeah, how did you look? Did you give them an eye? Did you do this? Did you do that? And it's like, why is nobody asking the person who did this act like any of these questions when it comes to them being a decent human being?
It's just crazy how like the initial conversation when the police came in was very accusatory.
Yeah, and it
so
typically
it was very much like, it wasn't what did he look like, was he wearing, how tall was he, where was the location at, how did this happen? It wasn't any of that. It was, why did you go to the parking lot with him? Why were you talking to him? It was very much based on like, why were you in that situation? And it's like, I hear that from a lot of other women who've gone through it and who've actually reported. I also want to talk about the DNA backlog.
Oh, okay.
So all of that, happens, and it's hard for people. People do not trust the system.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. Most women do not trust the system.
Yeah.
A lot of men just don't go and report because of guilt and shame.
Right.
But they're more likely to take that more serious than they are a woman's.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of women are very trusting of it. There is that one show, I believe it's called Unbelievable, and it's about the girl who was raped by a stranger. He broke into her home, tied her up with her own shoelaces, and raped her. And they berated her and questioned her for days. Days. About what was she doing? What did he look like? What was this? What was that? What was there? Blah, 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 blah. Detective is like, basically said she's lying. She's not consistent, so on and so forth. Come to find out, this was a serial rapist who was doing this to several women. And a female detective is the one that was put in charge of the entire case. And she's the one that figured it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's, I don't understand why people do that to people.
I don't know.
Because I feel like, especially, I guess in a sense it's like a power thing for some people. Yeah. But I'm like, there is willing people out there in the world that will give you exactly what you want. You don't have to take it from somebody.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a weird thought process to have.
Oh, you're talking about rape in general?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a power thing.
But I get that, but it's also like, how powerful can you possibly feel when you're dealing with somebody who's constantly like, get off me? No, like that would in my head would be like, I don't feel powerful. I feel like a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, 100%.
Like it's
your
such
thought
a weird
process, and I mean, I would feel the same way.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and I get it. Like, there's probably something happening in here mentally, but it's like, how can you possibly feel powerful?
Yeah, I mean, they feel powerful because they have somebody underneath them that they're forcing them to do something against their will.
Yeah, but that's not power to me.
No, it's not. For me, it's not. But for them, that's what it is. It's a power. It's a sexual urge, and it's for power.
Yeah, it's a weird. I'll never understand it.
I don't
never
understand it. I don't understand it at all. And it's great. I mean, it's crazy how there's actually. Let's go back to that statistic.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So while 80% of reported rapes are against white women, minorities are more likely to be assaulted. Rates of rape: white is 17.7%, black is 18.8%, Asian Pacific Islander is 6.8%, American Indian, Alaskan women 34.1%, and mixed race is 24.4%. The stats for non-whites are probably low since barriers to reporting would be increased for women of color.
And as a woman of color, nobody's trying to listen to us. They're not. So you can say up and down all day, yes, I was raped, I was sexually assaulted in some way, and they're going to be like,
yeah.
As you should be, move on. You're like, what? Excuse me?
They really don't take it seriously.
It's
bad enough that they don't take rape seriously in general, but then when it comes to women of color, it's almost like if it can't be sensationalized, they don't care about it.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to take me down a path I didn't want to go down. I'm going to say it. We'll decide if we're going to keep it in or not. I feel like a lot of the reasons why that exists goes back to the fact that they don't see us as real people.
Absolutely, 100%. No, I agree because they don't. And it's a lot of, unfortunately, I feel like, and I don't know the statistic on it, but just from what I've observed in the field that I work in, majority of the police force is white. It's white. It's white male-dominated job. And especially down here in Florida, they don't... Ooh, I'm trying to tread lightly. But I don't give a fuck. They don't give a shit about the minorities down here. They don't care about people of color. They don't care about anything other than affluent white people. They don't.
Mm-mm.
They don't give a fuck. Mm-mm. And it's crazy how...
It's crazy, and it's very present, especially when we see... detectives come in for certain types of crazy cases and the comments that are made.
The comments that are made.
And
that, yeah.
it's typically the comments that are always wild have to do with minorities.
100%.
Always minorities.
100%.
And how pressed they are to resolve a crime.
Yeah.
Is vastly different if they're a minority.
100%.
I know they try to be like, we're fair to everybody, we try to take care of everybody, but they don't. We hear the conversations that are happening as we're doing these cases.
Yeah.
And for the ones that are sexually, charged,
yeah,
they're not pressed.
They're not pressed.
They're not pressed. And they could say all day, yes, we're worried, we're concerned, but we see what happens.
Yeah.
They're not pressed.
They're not pressed.
So it's unfortunate.
And they already come to some sort of conclusion.
Yeah, they always come to some conclusion that like, oh, this had to do with drugs. They were a prostitute or a sex worker. They were this and that, and you're like, but they're still a person that deserves some dignity and respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy how rape is not, it's such a taboo topic. And it's like people don't want to talk about it, but it is a real and very prevalent thing that is occurring within our society towards primarily women of color. Oh, here's another one. Around the world, at least one woman in every 3 has been beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused in her lifetime. Most often, the abuser is a member of her own family or is her partner. 1 woman in every 3. 1 woman in every 3.
And there's a crap ton of women in the world.
There's more women than men.
I know. That's crazy.
Do you know if we just rallied up, I'm sorry, it's a little off topic, but if we just got all the women together and just rallied up, we'd be able to beat the men.
Oh, for sure.
Just in sheer numbers.
Yeah, in sheer numbers alone.
1 in 3 women.
Oh, yeah. 1 in 3 women. So the fact that it's 1 in 3 women is wild because that there is so many women.
In the world.
And that's insane, but that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because you think back about us having conversations with other women and being like, oh, yeah, me too, me too. So it's just like.
The whole Me Too movement is a real deal.
Yeah. And the Me Too movement is a thing. The problem is there are people who have participated in the Me Too movement and were not correct.
Yep.
Which makes it very hard for the movement to do what it actually needs to do.
Yeah.
Because it's already hard enough to report it and have people take you seriously.
Yeah.
To have that one person say like, oh, well, no, this didn't actually happen after going through this whole big thing. The person who follows after that is now like having to go through a billion hoops.
Absolutely.
Which makes it difficult.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was in school, there was this girl who had said she got raped by these guys at the school.
Yeah.
And it was like a huge thing and all this stuff. I mean, it got kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Come to find out, homegirl lied about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she left school and all this other stuff. But it was crazy because she brought her brothers down, or cousins, or somebody down to fight and all this other stuff, only to find out that she was lying the whole time.
Yeah.
It was insane. I mean, honestly, like stuff like that happens, but it's just.
It does.
It's really unfortunate because. I don't know. It's always weird for me because when you talk about like drinking and things like that, there is, especially if you get like blackout drunk, there's just a lot of stuff you just don't remember.
No, there's a
lot of stuff you do that you don't remember. I mean, I've had conversations with people after a night of being out and then be like, oh girl, you were on one last night. And I was like, was I? What happened?
So yeah, I mean, drinking, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster in general. I just think don't fuck while you're drinking unless you're fucking your boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, don't don't go out and do that. But also it's a good time. So like, I can't really say like, discern use your best judgment that you can.
For sure.
Because there are times when it's like, girls get too drunk and they say no, and boys keep pushing forward, or
the opposite,
because there's actually I've talked to quite a few men who have had that happen to them with women, where the women were the aggressors, and And they were like, yeah, I just never said anything because it was like, well, what do I do?
It's so crazy because I think about specifically, he talks about how I have a friend that talks about kind of his interaction with women sometimes, and women are wild.
They are wild.
We are a wild bunch.
Yeah.
And some of the things that have been said to him, I'm just like,
Yeah.
why would you even say that?
That's crazy.
But yeah, so I just think about, like, hearing his conversations about how women interact with him, and how other people, like other guys that I know, have had that same way. And it kind of leads me to coercion.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I know for a fact that I have definitely given some coochie off of coercion.
100%.
Like, knowing I did not want to, but I was also like,
it, but I'm like, you know what? You're not gonna leave me the fuck alone.
Why not?
Here's some coochie.
Here's some
all right,
cooch.
go the fuck away.
And yeah, and that be that. And I think about a lot of my male friends that have been in those situations.
Yeah.
And you know what's so funny? Because you don't ever really think about men being coerced to be to have sex, but that happens.
Yeah.
And honestly, it probably happens more than they even realize or want to address.
Yeah, it does. Because in their mind, they're like, oh, we just give the good dick, and then we keep it moving. But it's like
no, that was something.
That was coercion.
Yeah.
And it happens. It happens a lot. And it's like, I think more men are talking about it now, but and I definitely know more women are talking about it and becoming more open. But there's a huge community of people who just kind of come together and talk about that, you know, and like really support each other on it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a beautiful thing whenever community comes together and actually helps each other out.
For sure. That's what's great about community.
Community. But yeah, I mean, coercion happens all the time. And there's been plenty of times where I've, thrown the coochie around just because you won't leave me the fuck alone. And I'm like, all right, here's some cooch, go away. Especially when I was younger. Definitely. Primarily when I was younger. So, what's also crazy? Happened a lot during relationships, too.
That
a lot during relationships.
Go to that one statistic about relationships, and because that's a whole, I don't even know if we want to get into that today.
Women reporting rape within a relationship report an average of 20 assaults during that relationship. It's happened in relationships, coercion, not anything forced. But it's happened in relationships where I'm like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to. I was talking to a very close friend of mine once. She's not a very close friend of mine anymore. But she told me her word of advice was, just go satisfy your husband. Just go satisfy your husband and it'll be fine. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. There's other past relationships where I did things where I didn't want to, but I did it because I wanted you to leave me the fuck alone.
And I don't know if that gets talked about enough.
I don't think it does get talked about enough.
I feel like a lot of the sexual assault talk is heavily wrapped around molestation and rape and things like that.
Yeah.
And rarely around the fact that you may be getting that situation in your relationship and not even realizing, because you're in a relationship. You need to just do those things because that's where you're at. This is your duty to your partner. And it's like, just because we are in a relationship doesn't mean that your dick is mine or your coochie is mine and that my 100%. Coochie is yours.
Yeah. No is no is no. And if you don't want to, and you're saying, I don't want to, I'm not into it, that's it. That's the end of it. You got a hand and you can go use your hand, go grab some toys, whatever the fuck you need to do what you need to do on your own. But yeah, there's been guilt trips and stuff like that into being like, you don't do it enough, you don't do this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, well, it's my job, Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be a job. It's definitely not talked about enough when it comes to being in relationships. And I know men have to go through it as well. They just don't talk about it. And women too. Women go through it all the time. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about was just being out. Going out as a woman.
Oh.
I can't tell you, you've been there for a couple times.
Girl.
Where men have grabbed me or
We were in the UK and that whole man went to. That's an interesting one.
I was ready to throw hands in the UK. I was ready to throw hands with this man in the UK, bro. He would not leave Deidre alone. Would not leave her alone, and was extremely aggressive. Very drunk.
Very aggressive.
But very aggressive with it.
I was like, damn, are we about to fight in the UK?
I had to say several times, she's uninterested, go the fuck away.
And you know what's so crazy about it? And this is a big point. I tried to be nice about it.
Yeah.
Because you just never, first of all, we were in a country that we're not familiar. I don't know their laws and regulations and stuff like that. I'm just there trying to have a good time.
Locked up, they won't let me
I wasn't trying to get locked up in the UK. I'm sure it's pleasant, but I wasn't trying to
get
locked
pleasant,
up.
honestly.
They probably bring your food and they're like, hey, I just wanted to, you know.
Would you like some biscuits?
Would you like some biscuits?
You want some tea?
But I was trying to be nice because of all of that.
Yeah.
Also, again, in a country that I am not familiar.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their reaction is going to be to me.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know.
100%.
And so, but that happens a lot where we'll be out and about and you'll get grabbed or I'll get grabbed or somebody says something wild and things like that. And one of the big things of it is that you have to try to be calm. You have to try to be nice. You have to try to be, because if you're a little bit too aggressive, you don't know how they're going to react. You don't know if this is the night that you're going to have to fight for your life.
Yeah,
like
100%.
You just never know what is going to happen. Stalked, stabbed, shot, fought, spit at. You know how many times I have been in situations where people come up to me and they're like, oh, I just think you're so beautiful. Let me get your number. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm good. And now I'm all types of this fat, dirty bitch. Like, and I'm like,
100%.
What?
100%. If you like rejecting somebody, sorry, in my experience, it's rejecting men. They tend to get extremely, some of them get very aggressive with it.
And it can be very scary.
It can be very scary. And so it's like, you know, I'm a firm believer in fuck politeness because I don't have an issue with making a scene. But I also have to remember making a scene can follow me to my car. It can follow me home. It can follow me in other places. It can cause me to be assaulted. It can cause all sorts of stuff to happen, you know. And I have to make sure that I'm safe as well as the people that I'm with are safe because usually I'm going out with other women. Usually I'm just going out with Deidre, honestly. Like, let me just be real. I don't really be going out with people like that except Dee.
Yeah.
Her and I together. Her and I together, we'll be fucking some people up if we need to. But it is something that, you know, you have your titty grabbed or your ass grabbed or your stomach grabbed or something.
I'll never forget being, where was I? I don't know where I was. I was out somewhere.
Yeah.
And I had on shorts because I used to always have my little legs out.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this guy literally just put his whole hand in my coochie.
Yeah.
I was like, not on. And I was just like,
yeah.
I don't know. And so this was in my bold days. I snatched him up by his neck and I choked him and I was like, don't you ever in your fucking life do that shit again. And he didn't talk to me anymore after that.
Yeah.
I saw him a few years ago and he was like, I am really sorry. I was really drunk.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, I mean, it was all good. It was, you know, I took care of it as I needed.
I still had to snatch you up.
I do what I got to do, but.
That's okay. I was getting off, I was working at Bath and Body Works in the Fashion Square Mall, and I was taking the last bus home. And the bus that I was on was super, super packed. And this guy, we were standing, and this guy was behind me, and he kept pushing up against me. And so I kind of moved in front a little bit and kind of moved away, and he followed me and was pushing up against me. And it was only like maybe a 25-minute ride home. And it was the last bus of the night. And he goes, he gets real close to me and he goes, because like, you know how when you have to stand, you kind of have to stand with your legs wide.
Yeah, so you can have balance.
He grabbed my coochie from the back underneath and like full on grabbed, and she's a little fatty, so there's a whole grip there. He full on grabbed my shit and I pushed him back and made a whole scene. And I think I was like maybe 17 at the time, and I got off the bus a stop before because I didn't want him to know where I lived, and he stayed on the bus and he got off on the next stop, which was like right by the apartment. I didn't know he got off. He was waiting for me in the bushes, and I was walking past, and he came up from behind me and he grabbed me, and this was back when I used to put blades in my mouth and pop the blade out
bitch.
and cut him.
You were a gutter bitch for real.
And I cut him across the face, and I ran. I booked it. And we could leave this in. I don't care. But I booked it. I fucking ran to my apartment. I was living with my friend Jill at the time. And I fucking ran. I was freaking out. Like, I'm pretty sure I just threw whatever I had with me, other than I think I had like a purse or like a little over the strap purse or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I ran. But yeah, I used to put blades in my mouth. I still got scarring underneath here. Yeah. Because I didn't know how to put them in properly.
Yeah.
But yes, I was that bitch. Yes, I was. But yeah, no, I mean, shit like that happens all the time. And like going out and stuff like that. You've been with me where men have grabbed me and stuff like that. Or like, even if it's to be nice, like when we were at Glizzy King, and the guy grabbed my arm and he goes, I just want to say you're so pretty. You can say that without grabbing my arm. Mm-hmm. Like, don't touch somebody without their consent.
Yeah, it's always really weird. And I've had a situation where I was at work.
Yeah.
And some guy literally came up, just started like grabbing my sleeve so he could see my tattoo.
Yeah.
But like, say that you want to see it so I can do it myself. Because why are you touching me?
Why are you touching me?
It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to see your tattoo, and I just looked at him like,
yeah.
You can use your words.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I know it happens to other women all the time too.
Yeah.
And I've even had women come and harass me and grab me. When I went out to a gay bar, there was this girl, she was super, super drunk. And she was groping me and grabbing me, and I was like, it's time to go. I want to go home now.
Yeah.
Before I fight her.
And you know what's so funny? I'm going to say this, and I don't know if it's if it's controversial or not, but I'm going to say it because I am absolutely a girl's girl.
Yeah.
But ladies, figure it the fuck out. We need to stop doing that.
Please stop.
Because I feel like we as women do shit like that and hide it under the guise of like, I'm just being girly. I'm just being flirty. I'm being fun. It's like, no, bitch, you're being a fucking sexual assault person.
You are literally groping me. Stop touching me. And I get it. Like your inhibitions are lowered, and your sense of judgment really isn't there when you're drunk. That goes for men and women. But still, get your shit together.
Yeah. We as a people, as a human race, need to do better.
As a human race, need to do better. And before, because I know we're now over an hour.
It's not that long. It's probably going to be about 45 minutes.
Okay, cool. Because this last little bit that I wanted to talk about was the DNA backlog on rape kits.
Oh, yes, please.
Because
let's talk about that.
That DNA backlog on rape kits is actually, I think it's backlogged 5 years. And I think the statute of limitation is 7.
I thought it was 5.
Is it 5? I thought it was 7.
Is it dependent on what it is?
I think so. Okay, so I can tell you that every statute of limitations on rape is different for every state.
Had the whole vape out.
That's okay. Alaska is unlimited. If you are raped in Alaska, it doesn't matter if it's now or 50 years from now, you can go ahead and report it. Florida is 4 years for sexual battery. Georgia is 15 years for forcible rape. But anyways, it's about 15 years. So every state is different, but that backlog is like backlogged for up to 5 years now. And you know who helped with that backlog? Our girl, Olivia Benson. She's sunken so... I mean, no, that's not her real name.
That's not her. It's Mariska Hargitay.
Mariska Hargitay.
I was like, that's cool. I know who you're talking about.
But we know Olivia. But she actually went out and she got a bunch of money together and helped pay, because that's the issue, is there's not enough funds. There's not enough funds.
Which is... I don't want to get on that. I'm going to just say this and we'll keep talking. How is that even a thing?
It's a
There's
thing.
not enough funds for things that are supposed to help people to get justice for something that was done to them. But there's not enough funds for it?
Yeah, there's not enough funds for it.
That's insane.
There's not enough funds for it.
That's almost like saying...
Yeah, we continuously increase the police force
funding. It's like saying, like, we can't have this hospital open right now because we just don't have the funding.
Exactly.
People need hospitals.
Exactly. 100%. So that DNA backlog is, I believe at this point in time, it's a backlogged 5 years. I can go ahead and double check that if it's wrong, and make an adjustment. But yeah.
That's insane. And I think the thing that makes it so sad is because depending on the state, that statute of limitation here in particular, there's nothing you can do with that. If it's backlog 5 years, like it's statute of limitation is 4 years here.
Yeah. Well, I think that's for sexual battery.
Oh, sexual battery.
That's for sexual battery. But I think it's up to 8 years depending upon if it's forced rape.
But the thing that makes that so messed up is that you're making people who even decided to go report wait even longer to have some type of comfortability, because a lot of times when stuff like this happens, people are not the same.
No.
Their life has changed in a way, their thought process has changed, their daily activities have changed, and so now you're dragging something out even longer because that person may or may not still be on the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have to keep reliving this because you probably got to go to court. You probably got to do this. You probably got to do that. And now this is drug on for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And then not just that, when you are on stand and when you are doing this, they're picking apart your entire sexual past history.
Life.
So if you're not some sort of, young
saint
virgin, that's also going to come into play. Like it's very, I don't know. It doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
For me and for a lot of women that I talk to, it doesn't feel safe to report.
Yeah. It's almost sometimes not even worth the hassle. And it's really sad to even say that, because you should always report.
Yeah.
So it almost doesn't make it worth it to report sometimes, because you have to go through so many hoops and bells and whistles and all this thing to even get it out there, and to have it be extended longer is wild. And it's sad that the funds are just not there to make sure that people are able to get the comfort, the in all essence, quality of life back, because your life completely changes.
Your demeanor changes.
Everything changes,
especially if you don't get help for it.
Your activities, who you associate with, how you move, how you take care of yourself,
your hypervigilance,
how you talk to yourself is very different. You like everything, it changes. And so to have people have to wait for that is just wild to me.
Yeah.
And there's so much funding that goes out for shit that's not as important, like they shouldn't have that types of funding.
Yeah.
That it's just sad. That shouldn't even be a thing. That should never be a conversation of, well, we just don't have the funding. Never for something like that.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
No. It is super sad. It is. It's really sad. And it does sometimes seems like it's not worth even reporting.
Yeah. And that's really unfortunate, because you should always report, especially in these situations, so that you can get the proper help that you need, and also to make sure that doesn't happen again to somebody else, because let's just really talk about it. A serial rapist, how many of those women reported it before they actually started realizing we have a serial rapist?
It took one person to report for everybody else to come up and report.
But how many had happened before that? You know what I mean? So stuff like that is important to report, because you want to make sure that it doesn't happen to somebody else. And I get it. A lot of people don't want to, because it doesn't seem like it's worth it sometimes, but it is helpful for somebody, because you may be saving somebody else from going through that. Or sometimes with some of these situations, they do have these sexual assaults happen and they get killed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no shame in not reporting.
Of course, yeah.
I understand why somebody wouldn't. I didn't report mine.
I didn't report shit either.
So I didn't report anything. And that's because I was young and I didn't remember much. And I just didn't think it was a big deal. I thought I could just get past it and move on. But it is sad because, you're right. Like, how many other people did this person hurt after hurting me? You know what I mean? How many other people did it take, before somebody reported them or whatever? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's important to report, even if,
it doesn't make it easy to do.
Does not make it easy.
And you still may not want to, but if you look at it in a way, if this could help save somebody else from having to go through the shit, it might be worth it.
But also, at the end of the day, talk about it with somebody. Talk about it. Do not harbor that, because harboring all that negative energy and harboring that all that in you is not going to hurt anybody else but yourself. I can tell you that from experience.
Like, I don't want to say don't, but you do what you see fit, but take the power out of your not offender. I mean, I guess it could be an offender.
Yeah.
So take the power out of the offender's hand and live your life to how you want to live it and all of that. Like, don't let them win in that aspect. They've already taken something. Like, try not to let them win. It's hard, and it sounds good. Like, we're saying this because it is important, even as we sit here and not having reported shit.
Yeah.
But it is important. Because looking back, it's like you just never know. Like, damn, I wonder,
Yeah. I mean, this was almost 20 years ago for me. So there's like...
I mean, it's been way longer for me.
Yeah, so there's like no way for me to even report it or say anything about it. But, it's just... It is important, but I think most importantly, your mental health is important.
Absolutely.
So, there's plenty of hotlines, just kind of wrapping this all up. There's plenty of hotlines that you can call where you can talk to people. There's free online therapy that you can use to talk to people. There's support groups. I know there's tons of support groups here in Florida where you can go, and talk about, your experience, strength, and hope on it.
Also, depending on who you work for, your company may offer free services through the EAP, which is the employee assistance program, that allow you to have up to, again, depends on where you work, up to 6 free visits with somebody.
Oh, girl, I had 12.
I had a lot, but it was also during COVID, so I can't.
Mine was before COVID, and I had up to 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you get them. I think you get like 6 for any new ones, and then you can request for additional ones. Yeah, which is what I did.
Oh, okay. Because I know when I first started going to therapy out here, the majority of my sessions were free because I did it through the EAP, but also I had already hit my out-of-pocket max, so it ended up not being that bad. But they'll give you those free sessions so that you can, and then you can also find somebody that you match with, because when we've mentioned this before, when you're looking for a therapist, you want to make sure that they fit you
100%
and that you feel comfortable with them, especially if you're going to be that open and vulnerable with them.
Yeah, that's very important. But so it's very important, to make sure that you take care of yourself and talk about it and talk about it with somebody that you're comfortable with. Those EAPs are great. I do know that if they tack on, I don't know, anxiety, say you go in for anxiety and then they tack on depression, those are like 3 or 4 more EAPs. So definitely find a therapist that can help you out with that as well. And, or talk to, again, like if you're not comfortable with going to therapy, talk to a friend, talk to a family member, talk to somebody, because harboring that is just going to harm you more than it's going to harm somebody else. So, yep. But we can go ahead and put in maybe some hotlines.
Yeah, we'll put in some hotline numbers, some websites, the links for where she got the statistics from. Yeah. We'll put all of that in there so that if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that may be able to use it, Absolutely. You can share that information with them, because this is something that everybody needs to discuss. If you're a man that happens to watch our show, please share this information with your homies. Yeah. Like, let them know, like, hey, bro, maybe you guys start having, maybe you be the guy that has the conversation with your guys and be like, hey, bro. Yeah. Have you ever been, like, sexually assaulted in some way? And I guarantee you a lot of guys will be like, yeah. Yeah. But I don't think nothing of it. Yeah. So, anyway.
I mean, I know just people that I'm close to have been groped and grabbed just recently.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's just like, know it happens, but they don't look at it the same.
They don't talk about it. Mm-mm. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our very long episode on sexual assault. Yeah. Again, we know that this was a heavy episode. Yes. We understand next week will be a lot lighter. Yeah. We're going to do something fun next week. It'll be
next week is the live.
Next week is the live.
Yeah. We're live streaming.
We're not doing a live show.
Not doing a live show. We do not have that type of following. We are doing a live stream.
On Twitch and YouTube.
We had to postpone this week because, one, I was super sick and there was all sorts of family stuff going on, but it just worked out better to do it next week. So we're going to put out a couple flyers between now and next Thursday. Next Thursday at 7:30, we're going to be live streaming through Twitch as well as YouTube. We'll make sure to put all the links out. We've got everything set up. but it'll be the first time we're live streaming, so please, please, please
Sorry.
have a little patience with us.
Yeah. Oh, I had my mic wrong. Have a little patience with us as we, go through this time.
Yep.
We will be. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. So Thursday. I just want to make this announcement because we were supposed to be on yesterday.
Yeah.
But Shelby's been sick, but I also had some artwork that I submitted
artwork.
to submit it to an exhibit. So I went to that opening as well.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Her artwork is really beautiful.
Thanks, girl.
Yeah. You should definitely go check it out. What's the name of the gallery?
City Arts in Orlando.
Go check it out. And they misspelled her name. So you can go ahead and look for
Dydra.
Dydra. Go look for Dydra's work. It's beautiful. Anyways, anything to add? All right, great. We love you guys. We appreciate you being here. Like, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you have any feedback, we absolutely love the feedback that we're getting. Somebody commented on our YouTube stating that we should maybe stop
cussing so much.
Let's stop cussing so much.
And a great Samaritan was like, it's just some words.
It's just some
Move
words.
on.
Look, we are actually trying our very best not to
are.
curse because we do want to try to make sure this is good for other ears, but honestly, I say the F-bomb almost every other sentence. It's just the way I talk. So I'm doing my best, and so is Dee. But we love you and we appreciate y'all's support. Thanks for hanging in there. I know last episode was a little weird.
It was all over the place.
It was all over the place, but we did our best, and that's what we're doing now. So hopefully you got a little something from what we did here. All right, thanks guys. Bye.